Mark, thanks so much for taking the time. How are you doing this afternoon?
Sorry, I'm eating. We just had an NBA meeting go long, so I'm starving. So I apologize. I've got a mouthful of food.
It's cool. What are you going with?
I got spaghetti squash with cheese.
That'll work.
That'll work. That is amazing. Well, congratulations on getting the win. I can only imagine. Yeah, it looks delicious. I can only imagine what it's like in your seat, because even in our seats, it's like, 6-game losing streak, and when are they going to get it together? And, Rona, you don't have your players available. So walk us through what that's like through your eyes, because through a lot of fans' eyes, it's like, they're not good enough, and this and that, and then there's very tangible, at least partial reasons for it. But how is it navigating that for you?
Well, you got to, pay attention to reality. These weren't like normal injuries. When a guy gets hurt, it's bad. But, unless he's just out, there's a recovery period where he gets to do multiple things. If you sprain your ankle, you can do other things, but you might not be ready to play yet, right? You can still run, you can jog, you can walk, you can do things, you're around the team. When you go through the Rona crunch, it's completely different. We beat Denver, and then 5 guys were hanging out together, and they all have to quarantine. And, I don't think people fully realize what that means. That meant 2 weeks sitting in a hotel room by yourself, not being able to do anything except maybe ride a bike if you're sick, dealing with symptoms. And then after those 2 weeks and you get your negative test, then you have to go through an individual evaluation where you have to go through all this cardiac testing to make sure that it didn't impact your heart at all, because we don't want, God forbid, something terrible happen. And then you get to start trying to work out and get back into shape and get a feel for basketball again. And that, we gave them maybe 4 days to do that. And so from the time that you got shut down with the quarantine, it's 3 weeks. And a lot can happen in 3 weeks when you lose 5 of your 8 top guys. And then even when they come back, they're not in basketball shape. I mean, just imagine, not picking up a basketball for 3 weeks and then all of a sudden being thrown into an NBA game. So there's an adjustment, a period, and that's what we went through. And yeah, we wish we had won more games out of that group. And yeah, it's horrible to lose 6 games in a row. But it's not like the other side of it was, we didn't have enough guys who were sick, so they didn't postpone the game. So that did, some teams were able to avoid those types of situations because they were postponed. And then on the flip side, we were also playing teams that had complete continuity. It wasn't like, they had lost a lot of games. And even if you have injuries, it's still, in my opinion, is not as bad as forcing a guy to just sit in a room or a hotel room for several weeks. And so we're playing against teams with lots of continuity. And that's just the breaks of the game right now in this crazy year. But, it's an excuse at some level. But, to answer your question, I didn't freak out because I knew, we were going to get our guys back at some point.
Well, and obviously those games still count. So 22 games in, you're 9-13. Does that cause you in any way? Like, what is your expectation, or what do you think the fan base's expectations for this team should be? Because I know for a lot of us, we were thinking top 4 seed, home court advantage. Now you should win a playoff series. Coming from 9-13, how much does that affect that? What are you expecting from this team?
I mean, I'm expecting us to play really well and hopefully stay healthy for the next 50 games. There's still 50 games left. And there's a lot that can happen. So there's no reason to panic. There's no reason to change our expectations. We lost that game when Devin Booker hit a last-second shot. You start to see some of it. Then last night, you start to see even more of it and still realize, 4 of those guys aren't really in the type of shape that they're going to be in, as we go forward. And now we have it a little bit easier, if you will, because we've got 7 home games in a row. And again, even when we travel, for the guys that were healthy, you're stuck in a hotel room. You're not allowed to leave except to go pick up your meal, go to, maybe have a Zoom call for a shoot around if you can't do a shoot around, and then go to the game, travel to somewhere else and do it all over again. And every team's going through that, but it's just, there's a lot more to this season than people realize. So to answer your question again, I'm still very positive, and I still think that there's a lot of good things. And now with this homestand, we have some continuity where guys can come in and work out. I think in 2 weeks we'll finally have 2 days off in a row. I mean, we haven't had 2 days off in a row in forever. And being able to just go to your own house, sleep in your own bed, act a little normal inside your own house is huge for our guys.
Mark, and I was going to ask you the other night, I was listening to Luka talk after the game, a very frustrating loss against the Suns. And, he's talking about, we need to play harder. We need to play, together. We need to play better and stuff like that. When you hear him talk about, when he says stuff like that, what is the reaction that you had? Is it something that you say, yeah, he's right about that. We need to do this a little bit better going forward?
I'll tell you exactly what I did. I sent him, I went back to our 2010-11 season right around the same time. And I went to Basketball Reference, and it showed all 8 out of 10 L's with 6 L's in a row when Dirk got a little bit dinged up, and then we lost 6 games in a row and 8 out of 10. And you go, oh, really? So there's a lot of things that are still possible. Then I also sent him the same thing where 4 of our last games, we went on a West Coast road trip that season and got destroyed. Because teams come together in different ways, and you can't get overly excited about any of this. And he knows it, right? He just has to look around, and then you see Josh Richardson come back and how hard he plays, and Dodo, how hard he plays, and Jalen and DP, all these guys, just how hard they play when they're coming back. And who did I miss? I missed somebody. Oh, Maxey. Right?
Yeah, Maxey.
And Maxey is a huge impact player. He's literally one of the top, 5 big defenders in the NBA. And so, these were substantial losses. But now that they're back, I told him, look, this happens to teams, and now we just got to get ready and get better and go forward. And we started to see some of it last game against Phoenix, and we started to see more of it last night.
Mark, to start the season, you guys stepped up the defense, made some moves during the holidays. Defense was top 5, top 3. Big win over the Clippers by 51 points, beat Denver. We already talked about the COVID issues and the 41 player games that the team lost as a whole. But are you surprised, as I guess a lot of people are, that the team right now is struggling to hit a 3 and one of the worst 3-point shooters?
It's crazy. I hope we're going to revert to the mean very quickly.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many threes we're missing. It's unbelievable. And, as bad as we've shot, to be in these last 3 games and to win this last one was incredible. But yeah, I don't get it. The guys don't get it. And, one of the things we do, we have internal analytics where we track them just when they're just shooting around, when they're able to shoot, to see, are their shots off? Can't they shoot anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have – no. I mean, when they're just shooting – the ball is going in, and we saw Timmy Hardaway with some of that. Jalen still shooting well. We saw Maxey. And so literally, 2 of our top 3 3-point shooters with Maxey and Jalen were out. Now they're back. And, KP, has been, and Luka both. Well, Luka's shooting it better now. And KP was struggling at the 3. I mean, he showed some sign of life last night, where I think you could tell he started to get his legs back, particularly and got a little bit more fired up after that tech he got. And so I think that's the real KP, and I think that's what we're going to see a lot more of. And I think our 3-point shooting will improve significantly.
Mark, I'm going to preface this with, I think it's going to be an annoying question. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an annoying question. But because we are sort of the conduit to the fan, and it's a thing that a lot of people are talking about, with where the record is, even given all the circumstances you've talked about, and with what the roster looks like how similar is Luka to somebody like Dirk? Because we got used to a superstar that was just going to be here forever. But now what a lot of people want to know about is look at the roster around Luka. Is that enough? Do you worry that there's going to come a time where he's going to be like, this isn't good enough, and that sort of questioning?
No, not at all. I mean, Luka, I really believe is a Mavs lifer. He loves it here. He loves the organization and the players around him. And he recognizes that it takes time to learn and to really take that team to the top. How many years did it take for Dirk to get to the finals? It was 8 years, I think, in his career to get to the finals. How many years did it take for Michael Jordan to get to the finals?
8.
Yeah. And so it takes some time. And certainly you guys know that I'm not going to sit by and not try to improve the team in every way we can. Some of the moves we made this summer or this offseason were to give us some flexibility to do so.
Mark, I just, in watching all your games this season, though, and now that you got KP back, it appears that you guys have done a better job here in the last couple of nights of getting the minutes where Luka and KP are on the floor at the same time. It seemed like there was kind of an odd where, I'm just thinking, is that the plan to try and get them together again, like we saw like in the bubble, pre-bubble? Is that the plan for you guys right now?
Yeah, of course, KP was on a minutes restriction at the beginning, and we didn't want to just all of a sudden throw him in for 36 minutes, right? So, trust me, nobody was more disappointed or frustrated than KP. He wanted those extra minutes to keep on, building some rhythm and staying with that rhythm. And so, yeah, he didn't get the minutes he wanted, and you didn't see him with KP together. And then on the flip side, for a while we were playing Luka the entire quarter, first quarter and third quarter. And now, there's times when he doesn't play the entire quarter. And so, that's just part of the adjustment process we go through as our guys are coming back and getting in basketball shape.
Mark, there's so many Maverick fans frustrated that they can't watch the games on TV all the time. Can you talk about the status and how the Fox Sports Southwest situation is affecting the team being in the middle of all of this?
Oh, man, it's awful. But you know what? Fox Sports is, Sinclair is doing the best they can to get the distributors to pick us up. But the reality is it's happening to not just Sinclair, but across the NBA where, the distributors, the cable companies just don't want to deal with it. So right now the answer is still the same. There's nothing new, and you can sign up for AT&T streaming at $85 a month on a month-to-month contract, or traditional TV, DirecTV, and the like.
I don't know if you even know this answer, but I saw something about how Bally's is going to partner with Sinclair and it's going to change the names and all that. Do you have any idea what the end game is? Is it a standalone app, or is it going to be the same thing? Where
they're a big believer, like a lot of us are, that gambling and gaming is going to have a big impact on viewership. And so they want to be there so that their customers can, at some point in time, place bets, get all types of gaming information. And I thought it was a really smart move on their part.
Okay, Mark, since we're talking business, when I was texting you earlier today, we want to tippy-toe in this because we got to surgically ask this, I guess, because of FCC rules. So I wanted you to say it in the roundabout way, how it feels to be in the middle of the regular guys versus the hedge fund guys and the Wall Street stuff that's going on, because your advice has been really solid and everybody's been enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, I love picking on the government and the SEC. That, I've fought the SEC for years, and I really think that Wall Street has a significant advantage. And when you get Wall Street bets and small investors working together, there's a real opportunity to change the game. Now, it's going to be sloppy. It's going to be messy. There's going to be a lot of people losing money. There's going to be a lot of people not fully understanding what they're getting into. And I try to tell people, do your homework, do your homework, do your homework. There you go. But at the same time, all progress is sloppy. Anything that's new is sloppy. And when I look at this, and you look at things like, not to get into cryptocurrency and all that, but if you look at blockchain and governance, I see this as the first step towards a digital Wall Street bets where, you tokenize, everybody puts in some money, and half of that money is used for stocks that everybody votes on, so there's a whole governance thing. And I just thought this was a great first step. And, it's unfortunate that Robinhood wasn't able to handle the volume, because we don't ever know exactly how this would have turned out had they been able to.
It's not going well, Mark. I just want you to know that. That's the thing.
I can tell you how many times that I've gotten crushed on trades. Not just when I first got started. Look, there's nobody that makes money on every trade except maybe high frequency traders, which should be banned. And I've been saying that for years. And that's one of the ways. One of the sad things is, with all this extra volume because of GameStop, et cetera, the high frequency traders, the Citadels of the world, just made bank at the expense of the little guy. And so, nothing's going to change because Wall Street doesn't want it to change. But at the same time, hopefully this is the first step. But like I said, I've gotten crushed. Everybody has horrible trades from time to time, and you learn, and you learn over time, to try to get luckier and luckier on your trades.
Hey, Mark, could you tell a quick story about back in the day when you had broadcast.com and the short sellers were selling your stocks and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, back when I ran a public company, Todd and I ran broadcast.com, our stock would go up $100 or down $100 on any given day. And there would be people who shorted it all the time. And I would thank them because when somebody shorts the stock, yeah, your stock might go a little bit down in the short term. But if your business does really, really well and you create demand for your stock, then they can't deal with the pain of the stock going up and up and up and up all the time. So they have to buy it back, which pushes it going up even further. And I'll tell you a quick story. Right after I bought the team, I was on the bus to a game talking to Nelly and Del Harris. And they were like, we just got to ask you, why did you pay so much for this team? $285 million, the most ever paid for a team. And, you probably could have got it for less. And I was like, guys, let me just tell you something. And I pulled out, at that point in time, we were trading linked to Yahoo because they had committed to buy us. And Yahoo stock had gone up $100. And I'm like, you see that stock up $100? I just paid for the Mavs today.
That is amazing. The owner of the Mavericks, Mark Cuban. Hey, thanks so much for the time. You can eat your, spaghetti squash. You can eat your healthy meal.
Shredded cheese, and then I'm getting ready to head down the game, get some shots up, and let's go Mavs.
All right. You
Go
heard it.
Mavs.
Mark Cuban's taking shots right before the game. All right. Thanks, Mark.